Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Direct Application. I'm your host, Matt Harrington. This is one of our solo blogcasts. So this is where I like to reflect on something I've written over the last couple weeks. So we'll make sure to put that link in the show notes. But a couple weeks ago, I started talking about catalytic leadership. I probably didn't start talking about catalytic leadership. I've been talking about it for a long time, but I put it in some writing and shared with many of you. And I just wanted to expand upon it a little bit and maybe give you some tips and tools to start this week off. A catalyst, if you think about it, sparks or accelerates significant change without being consumed by the process. A catalytic converter, right? We catalyze stuff in science. We do it all the time. What about in leadership? Catalytic leadership is stimulant that makes all the other parts move, all the other forces move, right? And so along with servanthood leadership, along with transformational leadership, there's something called catalytic leadership, and you can read more about it on the blog post that I put, but it combines an effect of powerful, influential leaders willing to step outside of their silos and create momentum together. So it's kind of two-pronged. One, we have to give the permissions, we have to have the energy and the know-how to get things going, and we're really change makers, but we're also pulling other people together too. Catalytic leaders possess an amazing level of focus. They're extremely committed to excellence. They have a fiery passion. They're persistent, and they're humble in understanding that only the power of a team can yield success. What we often say is a 1 + 1 is greater than 2 mentality, right? That not only by 1 + 1 could equal 2 and get us ahead, but we fundamentally believe that 1 + 1, the synergy of pulling parties together, pulling people together, would be greater than the sum of its parts. And so that's what teaming is all about. That's what catalytic leadership is all about. This reminds me a lot of Jim Collins' level 5 leadership, right? So the humility, which is focused on success of the organization rather than self. And we see the best example of that in Abraham Lincoln. But also, remember, there's the counterbalance to level 5 leadership. Yes, humility, but also fierce resolve. This stubborn determination to do whatever it takes to make that company great, or organization, or country, or cause. And so it reminds you of that kind of level 5 leader. Usually a catalytic leader is humble. They don't absorb the spotlight because they want it to be in the coalition. They want it to be in the committee. They want it to be in the task force. It also reminds me a lot of what I'm reading now, 10 to 25 by Dr. David Yeager, and this kind of mentor mindset. So, right, he goes through all the variations of leadership and how certain other leader styles don't motivate, but this mentor leader really does motivate. And so when we think of catalytic leadership, it's about the start, it's about the spark. It's also about mentorship. And I've seen this in my own hometown. I mentioned it in the story. I mentioned my good friend, Tom Dee, who's CEO, heads the hospital here, but he pulled a group of people together, entrepreneurs, bankers, elected officials, nonprofit directors, and they came downtown and transformed the whole block. And within that few years, in that block, cafes and storefronts and condos, but not only in that one block, that the catalytic leadership, the energy, the synergy, the passion percolated out into the other streets too, right? And so within a few years, not only was that block transformed, but there was a cascading effect, and breweries and markets and other small businesses started to pop up. Residential projects started to pop up. All of this could not be done by one business person alone, one industry alone, one institution alone. It had to be done by pulling people together. And that's where catalytic leadership comes in. And that's the pattern. Catalytic leadership sparks action in others too. It lowers the perceived risk. So if I go out and I do it first, and I'm the change agent, and I'm kind of giving you the message, and I'm taking the risk first, it lowers that perceived risk. It raises the collective energy, right? That synergy, that flywheel, as Jim Collins calls it. And it makes it improbable for sudden possibility, right? So it can spark things to happen in quick wins. So here's your direct application moment for this week. This is what I want you to do. Write pen to paper. Pick 2 people outside of your immediate silo. It could be colleagues in another department, a partner organization, or even peers in your industry. I want you to call them, text, email, whatever. I want you to ask them 2 catalytic questions. 1, what's one idea you've been sitting on that could make a difference if others joined you? The second, What would you try if the risk was shared with other peers, obviously? Imagine asking those two questions to somebody, not something that you need to get, but just saying, what would make a difference if I joined you? What would happen if the risk was shared? Your role is not to solve, but to spark, to listen, affirm, and connect dots. You might even end the call or text by saying, let me connect you with ... this person over here, or I'll bring this up at my next leadership meeting, or simply, let's keep this alive and going together. Let's talk about this. Let's continue this. So that's your action this week. Call one or two people within your industry, ask those questions, see where it takes you. Thank you as always for subscribing and sharing and just tuning in. I really appreciate it. Until next time.